Efficiency will only take you so far. To be truly effective, you need to start with your people. Smartsheet helps enterprises better align people and technology so they can move faster, drive innovation, and achieve more. Smartsheet, the platform for enterprise achievement. Learn more at smartsheet.com.
So you're sitting in an all-hands meeting and your great leader utters the immortal phrase, "Teamwork makes the dream work." Or, "Our people are our promise." Or my personal favourite, "We're more like one big family." Well, imagine a future, if you would, in which you do work with your family. As in, your actual family. Even your conspiracy theorist uncle. Sorry if that was triggering. How about someone less polarising? Like, I don't know, your 7-year-old.
Well, Mr. Khan, we'd like to formally offer you the job here at Ball Industries.
Can you tell me about your compensation package?
Mom leads product design, your sister Trixie leads marketing. And young Jack, he's chief culture officer, naturally.
How about your work from home policy? Is it like homework?
Well, child labour laws may have something to say to your HR team, but stay with me for a moment.
The truth is, I have a competing offer at another firm and I need to think about what's best for my family.
Beyond the obvious, free childcare, carpool lane access, and expensing family trips, there are actually a few reasons that a family work unit scenario like this, which was once the norm, of course, returns and becomes a new standard in office settings. And it's not just about trust and support and working with people you love, though we will get to that. A scenario like this imagines even more benefits. A new product, say a social platform for instance, could be tested in real time with not only the current generation, but the next generation of customer that's going to be using it. Imagine a less fearful hierarchy. A forthright teenager demands a raise from her own mum. And there's the opportunity to move teams within companies and across the world as one. I'm Faye Schlesinger, Managing Editor of OZY. This season on The Future of X, we're exploring the future of the workplace in partnership with Smartsheet. So far this season, we've heard from leading futurists and business executives about how AI will free our creative minds and how gamification will help engage employees as never before. In this episode, we're going to explore what the future of work means for one of the most important elements of any business, working with other people.
All the research is coming out on what it's doing to us, and all these tech titans that did create the addictive technology now are having kids, and they're not letting their kids use it because they're seeing the results, so that's very telling.
Tiffany Shlain is an Emmy-nominated filmmaker, author, and creator of the Webby Awards. Her new book, 24/6, The Power of Unplugging One Day a Week, is all about a concept she and her husband have developed over a decade with their children who are now 16 and 10.
We started turning off all screens from Friday night to Saturday night for what we call our technology Shabbats. We have a full day where we are fully human again. There's no screens to pull us away, and it makes life so much better.
The reason for this technology Shabbat, she says, goes back to a common issue within every family.
I was feeling very distracted all the time, like I couldn't complete a bigger thought without being interrupted by my phone and all the notifications, and I felt like I was a marionette doll responding to the phone.
Shlain began to notice similar behaviour in her family. Frankly, if you aren't paying attention to how addicted we all are to technology, it's probably because you're too preoccupied with your phone. And when the Tech Shabbat first started, it was as if she was behind the glass, staring at her own little focus group. And the results were clear.
We feel more connected, more creative, more productive, I can have bigger thoughts, they're more meaningful thoughts.
Shlain is not one to be against technology, in fact, quite the opposite. She did create the Webbies after all, those international awards honouring excellence on the internet. And she relies on tech every day to bring her own teams together across the world, whether for real-time script editing, screenings, or live speaking events. In fact, when we were scheduling her interview for this very podcast, our producers were communicating with Clara, her scheduling assistant. But Clara is not a human, she's a scheduler bot. We couldn't tell the difference.
But I think one of the biggest questions of our times is, when does it diminish the experience? And I think It diminishes the experience when you are having a live brainstorm in a room and people have their phones nearby and they're half listening and half looking at their phone at a text.
In fact, it's her absence from technology for that one day a week that makes her heart grow fonder.
And then Saturday night, we're psyched to go back. Oh, look at this miraculous tool. We can connect to any thought and any body of research in the world. And then Sunday, we always feel the most productive of the week. That is our most productive day, and it ripples out the rest of the week. To have a true day of rest where you're not looking at that screen, you're not responding to all the social fun things that are actually work these days when you feel all these obligations and you have to post things perfectly and check them, and that starts to feel like work too. So a true day of rest, you will truly feel recharged the next day and for the whole week.
Shlain says her family feels more creative and inspired. But what about that other family in our lives? The one we spend the majority of our day with, our colleagues. Interestingly, we're beginning to see specialised teams like family units move from company to company as one.
Clearly the way we've organised ourselves isn't working anymore.
This is Mark Stevenson, author of An Optimist's Tour of the Future. We heard from him in our last episode.
The problem with the current culture of organisations is, you get on by being promoted. And that kind of infers that you have to think you're somehow better or more competent than people below you. And therefore it naturally tends to play to the egotistical, psychopathic side of our personalities, such by the time you've got to the top of a large corporation, you may think you're really rather special and slightly better than everybody else. And that's quite dangerous.
But workplaces have been organised around hierarchical divisions of labour for centuries.
And that was a perfectly sensible way of doing things, say, 150 years ago. Now it's looking like there are better ways of organising ourselves, which are more like diverse, bottom-up, collaborative systems.
One really interesting place to look for this is in scientific research.
Amy Zalman is a futurist and a professor of strategic foresight. Yes, that's her actual amazing title, at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
So scientific researchers are under some pressure. It's really hard to get a job anymore as a tenured faculty in a university. So there are all kinds of researchers who once might have been full-time employed by a university and been able to work in the same team in the same lab all their lives.
But as funding sources for scientific research shift from state funding to philanthropists and large tech firms, these researchers have to adapt.
And so one of the emerging responses and positive responses of the scientific community is very much collaborative, kind of liquid teams that come together and then fall apart as they need to in order to pursue particular projects with particular funders.
And there's another place where the practice of team hunting is well established.
People in the creative world already know this.
Lisa Bedell is the CEO of Future Think.
Really what we already call this is the Hollywood studio model.
Under the Hollywood studio model, talent, skills, and individuals migrate on an as-needed basis. So surely we can imagine a scenario where recruiters in many industries switch from headhunting to team hunting.
I mean, we are constantly getting the band back together for different projects and different people that are expertise at their specific thing for a specific job. And I think companies are going to need to be more like that.
Hooray for Hollywood! That's gooey bally-hooly Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic.
And getting people more comfortable with that, this kind of non-permanence and bringing in expertise on tap, is the future of work. And we're going to be able to see people's resumes and the transparency of their actions so we can better tap into what we need exactly for a specific project.
And Bedell says that under a Hollywood studio model, a lot of the problems associated with current company hierarchies, they go away.
I think that companies can then eliminate a lot of hierarchy and a lot of politics, and they're better able to collaborate and be flatter. A lot of things that hold up corporations right now are, layers of decision-making, the need to cover your ass type of things, CYA things and meetings and all those types of structures that come with this hierarchy and politics and things like that. That goes away when you have a Hollywood studio model because we are focused more on the project than on the politics.
We'll be right back.
Efficiency is great for saving money, but will only take you so far. To be truly effective as a business, you need to start with your people. Smartsheet aligns people and technology so they can plan, manage, and automate work, and stay focused on the big stuff, solving challenges and driving innovation. When everyone is working as one, they can move faster and achieve more. Maybe that's why Smartsheet is trusted by 90% of the Fortune 100. Smartsheet, the platform for enterprise achievement. Find out what you can achieve at smartsheet.com.
A more collaborative workforce means that finding the right team members becomes paramount.
Companies have always used outside consultants.
Robin Sherwood is a Senior Director of Product Management at Smartsheet.
But I think that we haven't had an effective way of analyzing our workforce and saying, where does it make sense to be using internal versus external resources for these things, and giving us tools to analyze where that might be valuable.
And it goes beyond just finding the right person for the job.
It's not as simple as I need a software developer 1 or a software developer 2 or an accountant or a finance person. It starts to factor into, do we have the right sets of teams so that each team can be efficient and effective? You could start to look at your teams and your team makeup and say, if we can pull in other factors besides, what their level is and what their skills are, and factor in their personalities as well, we might be able to make more effective teams and where the team feels successful.
Building a more effective team also means getting different generations of employees to work together better. Kara Hamilton is the Chief People and Culture Officer at Smartsheet.
For the first time in history, we have 5 generations in the workplace. And I think that's important to this challenge. Younger generations, millennials, Gen Zs, especially Gen Zs, I think they see work as something they do and not a place and not constrained by certain hours. It's for them, I think it's about fulfillment and integration.
Hamilton says there's a power in harnessing the different perspectives and experiences that come from multiple generations.
And if you can harness it, you've got this cognitive diversity that you can really deploy. Each perspective is valid, and each experience set is valid. So how do we not cater to any one generation, but really meld it all together so we're getting the best for the business and we're allowing people to bring their whole selves to work, all that good stuff that really leads to sustained performance.
This also means getting the very best out of individuals across the span of their own careers.
The idea that you should be stuck in one place at one time is really bad for your career and really bad for your mental health.
Mark Stevenson again.
And therefore, I do think a much more fluid working environment works better, where teams can come together and then sort of disappear when the job's done.
Stevenson says that such a fluid team environment could actually be quite satisfying.
One of the things that people talk about at Google, one of the reasons they've been so successful, they talk about the 20% of time when you can work on something that's kind of interesting to you. But actually, the real secret sauce in that is that Google have made a virtue of poaching. So if I want to go and work on another project that somebody else has got going because I think is interesting, it's my manager's job to make sure I can go. So rather than holding on to your staff, it's your job as a manager to encourage them to go wherever they're most interested.
Still, thriving in a team-centered workplace will be challenging.
You can feel extremely lonely in a big group of people.
Lisa-Lotte Lingzo is the founding partner of Future Navigator, a think tank based in Copenhagen. She says that while it can be daunting to be in a work environment that doesn't fit, once you have found your tribe, it's as if you're in harmony with your work.
So you should think of it like a rock band. They take a lot of practice working together, and you need the same kind of patience in order to get a team that is really working well together. But once it's there, it can do miracles.
And the miraculous is said to begin with a flatter team structure in which less can fall through the cracks.
A lot of the stuff that we have to innovate in this future is stuff that is right now landing between different desks. So we need to bridge those desks in the future. And that takes a different kind of team hunting.
Focusing on teams could also change the way we conceive of work and talent. it could even change who we idolize.
He was a brilliant visionary. For over 30 years, computers, music, movies, and mobile phones were transformed by Apple's Steve Jobs.
It's so sad that we still have these hero models like Robert Redford, or what is he called from Die Hard, Bruce Willis. They will save the world. No, they won't. Teams will save the world. Groups of people will save the world.
You already know the term group effort, but what if not every member of your group is technically human? Remember Clara, the AI scheduler bot? Just think of the possibilities out there for all of our future non-human counterparts. James Canton is the CEO and chairman of the Institute for Global Futures.
I would say that you're going to have at least 10 to 15% of the folks that will be managing organizations will not be human. They'll be virtual artificial intelligences. You could end up with entire economies and entire markets being dominated by AIs that work collaboratively with humans to create great value. When an AI gets a Nobel Prize, or an AI or robot figures out the kind of cancer that you have or operates on your kid with efficiency, attitudes will change. So, welcome to the future.
As we've heard, collaboration will be key to the future of work. Lisa Bedell again.
I think we're going to start to see more flexibility in terms of outsourcing, and we're going to have more diverse teams that are going to add a lot more value to companies in ways they didn't expect. Innovation is going to really take off in the next 15, 20 years.
Mark Stevenson agrees.
Organizations that work more collaboratively with a more diverse input of ideas, they just outperform anyway.
And this is not just limited to a company's bottom line.
People are much more socialized. People divided by politics are very soon brought together around a project if you ask them to build something. But even more importantly, it's good for human health. So the biggest indicator of whether you live a long and happy life is how socialized you are. And so this bottom-up, diverse, collaborative method isn't just good for the bottom line and good for efficiency. It's actually essential for human well-being.
These interpersonal relationships that will build up over time as you and your teammates move across companies and projects as one, they'll be key to not just job performance, but also your overall health and happiness. In fact, researchers from Creighton University in Nebraska already confirm that having just one go-to person in the office with whom you formed a tight friendship, also known as a work spouse, can drastically improve your work life. These relationships are based on, and I quote, high levels of disclosure and support, mutual trust, honesty, loyalty, and respect. Studies have already confirmed that who you marry plays a key role in your professional success. So it kind of makes sense that a colleague can do exactly the same for your life outside of the workplace.
You have to work with people that you enjoy working with.
Tiffany Shlain again.
So with all this technology and all this stuff, it comes back to this basic fact of the human connection. The best work will come when you have a strong human connection.
Building the right teams also means finding the right people, of course. In the next episode of The Future of X, we explore how data and technology could change how we network and even what we know about our colleagues and our bosses.
I'd love to know that my boss is grumpy today and not to ask for a raise, right? He had a really bad status meeting right before I walked in, and your timing's bad. Wait till tomorrow and buy him a coffee. And by the way, he likes this kind of coffee.
The Future of X is produced by OZY in partnership with Smartsheet. I'm your host and OZY's managing editor, Faye Schlesinger. Derek Clements is our producer and editor. Sean Braswell is our lead writer. Anna Davies and Shannon Williamson are our editorial producers. Rob Koulos is our executive producer and Tracy Moran serves as deputy editor. And special thanks to 7-year-old Jack Koulos for effortlessly demonstrating the virtues of keeping it in the family. Today's future tip: if you want to get ahead in your career, go pick up a book on parenting. Remember the importance of a work spouse. It's the same concept. The rules also apply to your co-workers. It's about empowerment, communication, and empathy. Plus, it may help when your boss is acting like a 3-year-old. There are endless parenting books and podcasts, of course, but we've put a few of our favourites up on our site at ozy.com/future. That's ozy.com/future.